Yesterday was the 1st of April, and uh, we know it as April Fool's Day. But it's an interesting reading in the scriptures of yesterday. It was about the four or the three young men who were thrown into the fiery furnace. They were told by the king Nebuchadnezzar, Abednego, Meshach, and Abednego. Uh, they were told, "Get ready and bow down and worship the statue I made." Uh, and they refused. They were foolish. When you think about it, they were fools. Why would you trust? He said, "What God can save you from this fire I've built?" And he was made the fire not red hot, but white hot. He put so much wood on that fire that he wanted it really. He was livid when they refused. So these are fools, and it's April Fool's Day. So there are a group of people, and in Russia, the Eastern Church, that follow the saying that Jesus said, and well, actually came from Paul in Corinthians. He said, "Whoever is wise in the way of the world must make himself a fool that he can become wise." And they listened to that verse as Francis listened to the poverty verse and gave all his stuff away and became naked and did all that craziness. So these fools went to live in another city when they had an education, and they were nobles, a lot of them well-educated people. They became what they call fools for Christ. They would overturn tables in the market. They would throw nuts at the priest or stones. They would go half naked. They would tie themselves with chains and drag around half dead dogs or dead dogs. So people thought they were really, really crazy. And in the time of Ivan the Terrible, he would kill people at the drop of a hat. There was one such fool for Christ uh, in uh, in Moscow. His name was Vasily, Basil, as we would call him. And and yet Peter, the Ivan the Terrible, would protect him. No one could touch this Vasily. And when he died, Ivan built a church for him, and that church stands today in Red Square. The communists didn't destroy it. I think they must have loved the fact that Vasily would tell off the emperor and tell him what he was doing wrong. And he is a crazy man, could get away with it because he was just crazy. Uh, April Fool has a wonderful twist to it. It came from the change of calendars, Julian calendar. The beginning of the new year was March and April, the spring equinox, when the hope of life comes. And so when the change came and the Gregorian calendar was introduced into Europe, many people didn't know about it. So people made fun of the people who kept the old calendar, Julian. They were celebrating New Year, and they called them Poisson in French, Poisson Jeune or Avril, April fish, because they're young fish and they easily caught. They're foolish fish. So they would put that on people's backs. And when it got to Scotland, they would pin the tail on a donkey. That was because in those days they would, on the day of the fools, they would take down bishops and let the fools become bishops. They would have mock elections, and they would allow donkeys in the church, more jackasses than ordinary times. I think a lot of us are jackasses in church anyway, but they were really bringing jackasses. And then they began to pin the tail on the donkey was a thing and that they did in Scotland from that, bringing in the jackasses into church. And what happens when they pin the tail on the donkey? A little pin goes in. And why did these men become fools for Christ? To take away their pride. It's a pinprick of pride when you pin a tail on a donkey. When you sit on a tack, you jump, a practical joke, because we get a pin in the butt. But it humbles us. It makes us realize that we shouldn't take ourselves too seriously. And so today, we have extended, we heard yesterday that the different governors of the states have extended Lent for 30 more days. We have to have all these social distancing and all this home uh, desert experience of being a home alone with ourselves, with our families, and having time to think about God. So The desert time is a wonderful thing, and it overcomes our pride when we are ready to follow Christ no matter what happens. Jesus' message has got to be crazy. Love your enemies. Do good to those who do evil to you. That doesn't make any sense at all. Uh, so when you think about it, the craziness of God is really the plan for life that we as Christians have. So if you're a penny short and a day late, don't worry about it because God, wisdom is really not what the world understands. And those who are ready to bow down and worship the false gods made by Hollywood and by power and by might and by money, now they have a chance to sit at home and think, these gods don't make me full. These gods don't bring me joy. And it's funny, when you're tested in the furnace, the test of gold, and my gold friend, who was a goldsmith Cuban in Miami, told me, you can tell true gold because when you see the image of your own image in that gold, you know it's pure gold. And when God tests you, when he finds his own image in you, when he sees his face in you, when people see his face in you, then you have become a Christian. So I ask you to think about that. Laugh at yourself. Don't take yourself too seriously. Remember that you are a fool for Christ when you follow his gospel. And don't be afraid of that because you're only a penny short and a day late.